One of the topics Trump has been in the news for lately is tariffs. He's been talking with countries like China, Russia, and Mexico about some changes. He recently shared that the support he received from Arab countries was enough to cover the costs of the war in Ukraine. I'm curious, how did the American state become so dependent on these tariffs? It's a tough time right now. Unemployment is up, living costs are going up, too, and a lot of young people are turning to drugs. And healthcare is getting so expensive, it's a lot for any country to deal with. I'm happy to tell you that the number of unemployment benefit applications reached 241,000 by the end of April. On April 2nd, Donald Trump shared some thoughts about the economy. He said that the tariffs are going up, which means that product prices are going up too. This might make it a little bit harder for people to buy things. But at the end of the day, what matters most to Trump is his own well-being. Unfortunately, the unemployed and young people aren't at the forefront of his priorities. It's hard not to worry about the rising costs of student loans. Despite all this, Trump continues to be portrayed as an economic genius. It's been tough on both farmers and consumers because of the tariffs on China. It's really sad that so little has been done about healthcare, which is one of the country's biggest problems.
Hey, listen, can you do me a favor? Can you just drop me off at a corner somewhere?
No. Sorry.
It's just I don't have the greatest insurance.
Take a couple of deep breaths for me.
It's heartbreaking to think about people losing their lives because they couldn't access the treatment they needed, even though it was available. Some have lost their homes, gone bankrupt, or even taken their own lives because of hospital debts. It's heartbreaking to think that the world's most expensive healthcare system is standing in the way of people trying to access even the most basic healthcare services. During the Trump administration, being sick has unfortunately become a luxury. And getting better is a privilege. A young man in New York goes to the emergency room with severe stomach pain. Before any tests are done, he is asked if he has insurance. When he says he doesn't, they kindly ask for a payment guarantee. Unfortunately, because of the delay in getting a diagnosis, his appendix ruptured. Even though the surgery is performed days later, it becomes a belated intervention. It's heartbreaking to think that he lost his life so suddenly. Within just a few weeks, he passed away before he turned 30, simply because he didn't have insurance. Just imagine if you were to die in the prime of your life because of a health insurance policy costing thousands of dollars. It's such a tragedy. And that's not all. It's heartbreaking to think that every year, around 45,000 of our fellow Americans lose their lives to preventable causes because they don't have health insurance. It's hard to understand why it's so hard for the government to regulate this. It's heartbreaking to think that health is no longer a fundamental human right. It's become a business. In 2023, there were around 26 million people in the U.S. without health insurance. It's important to remember that most of those with insurance are actually in the underinsured category. For instance, if they were diagnosed with cancer, they couldn't receive treatment because their insurance didn't cover the costs. It's heartbreaking to hear that 41% of Americans have had to put their treatment on hold because of medical debt. Do you know what that means? It means that a woman who started chemotherapy had to cancel her next session because she couldn't pay her bill. It means an elderly man who needs heart surgery leaving the hospital saying, "I need to find a loan first." It's heartbreaking to think that today, around 100 million people in the U.S. are carrying health debt. Some are selling their homes and cars to pay off their debts. Others are spending their children's education funds. I know some of you are feeling a bit overwhelmed, but I want you to know that you're not alone. There are others who are also finding it tough, but they're managing. It's like the system is pushing them to give up, not to keep going. A simple ambulance call can cost over $2,000. We understand that staying in the hospital for one day can be expensive. On average, it costs around $11,000. Think about it, just one day. If you don't have insurance or adequate coverage, you'll have to pay these expenses yourself. That's why people are afraid to get sick. It's totally understandable that so many of us worry about going to the doctor. We all think, I better not go to the doctor, how will I pay? If something comes up, It's sad that people only go to the doctor when they can't take it anymore. The wonderful thing about this system is that it's based on the idea that early diagnosis saves lives, not early diagnosis costs a lot of money. It's heartbreaking to see that Black Americans and Latinos had death rates from the pandemic that were twice as high as other groups. It's really too bad, but they couldn't access tests, vaccines, or treatment, and people living in rural areas are no exception. It's heartbreaking to think that, as of 2024, more than 600 rural hospitals across the U.S. have closed. This means that people have to drive for hours to reach the nearest hospital in an emergency. The average person spends $12,500 per year on health care, but unfortunately, millions of people still cannot afford to go to the hospital. It's important to know that the average life expectancy here is below that of European countries. It's heartbreaking to hear that the infant mortality rate is much higher than in developed countries. The good news is that technology exists, doctors exist, and hospitals exist. But of course, you need money to access them. If you're struggling financially, the system might make you feel like your life isn't worth as much as others. I know we're all excited to see what happens with Donald Trump's Make America Healthy Again campaign. I'm sure he has the best intentions, but I'm curious to see what he'll do about it. He's got his hands full with things that don't really matter to the rest of us. People are paying for the damage caused by natural disasters out of their own pockets, but Trump is talking about taking care of America. It's heartbreaking to think that there are over 60 million homeless people in America, and yet our budget is being spent on wars in the Middle East. It's truly unbelievable. So, what happened to Trump's fortune? Just imagine a president who makes unfair profits from his own people. Even con artists in movies wouldn't do something like that. Let's watch it together and see what we can figure out. In January, Trump's market value went up to over $27 billion in just a few days, which generated $20 billion in profits for his company. I'm sure we all trust the president, right? So, I'd love to hear what happened. Luckily, so many investors jumped at the chance to buy the coin. I'm sorry to say that within just 1 month, it lost 90% of its value. This meant that almost 1 million people suffered losses totaling to $1 billion. On one side, we have the fortunate situation of millions of dollars flowing to Trump. On the other side, we have millions of people who are unable to access health care and have lost their jobs. The situation really shows how different the lives of leaders can be from the lives of regular people. While Trump's memecoin venture has added billions to his fortune, many small investors have unfortunately experienced significant losses. While many Americans are struggling with debt, it's interesting to note that Trump's crypto wealth has increased significantly. This process shows us how wealth accumulated through political connections, not economic expertise, can lead to societal collapse.